Hi guys, I'd like to take a second to tell you about our very first sponsor here on Menace to Sobriety. I thought long and hard about who to choose to put on this podcast and put out to you guys. And I've picked this for a very specific reason, because it's brilliant. I want to introduce you to the Morale app. This is an app where you can literally send great morale to your buddies. You can anonymously ping over messages to lift your friends' morale. It's brilliant. Ideal for this podcast and the viewers. The Morale app is an antidote to social media and an app designed to enhance human connection with your friends and combat loneliness. It's one of the biggest aids to mental fitness, and for many people in recovery is a sense of community, closeness and connection with others, and Morale is designed with the user in mind, not like other social media platforms. Download the app and add your friends to improve yours and theirs motivation every day. And if you need a code to use this one right here. This is my special code. The Morale app. Basically, ping your pal some morale.
A menace. Menace to sobriety. Just a menace. Just a menace. Just a menace. Menace to sobriety.
I was just a normal bloke who used drugs. Now, and then that sounds mental, doesn't it? A normal bloke who uses drugs, because it's not normal to use drugs. And little by little, that from using it the weekend and maybe once in a week, just became every day. And then it was like different variations of different drugs. And then I was getting kicked out. Then I had nowhere to live. And then I was like living on crack floors. Things were getting worse and worse and worse. And then one day I tried to pick up gear. I couldn't get any. And he said, "I've got crack." And I was like, and I went and sold my car. It was a nice car. Sold it to a local dealer, and then came back. And I was walking back, and at no point did I go, "I've just sold my car, and that's where I'm sleeping, and that's where I'm living." I went money, gear, score, drugs, and then next thing I know, I was living in a tent. And I had this thought: alcohol's not my problem, so I'm just gonna have 4 cans of Foster's. By the end of the night, I'd picked up crack. I was gone again, and within 24 hours, I was homeless again.
A menace. Just a menace.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Menace to Sobriety with your host with the most, Daniel O'Reilly, aka Dapper Laughs. I'm very excited about this episode. It's something a little bit different for you. Through the lifetime of this podcast so far, I think we're about 6 or 7 episodes in. Oh, actually, by now, it'll be lots more. But while I'm filming this, we've got about 6 or 7 episodes out. We're on about 18,000 followers on YouTube, and we've had millions and millions of views. We get about 25,000 downloads an episode, and it's not just because of my beautiful face, witty charm. It's because it's such a great podcast, and I think something that's made it great is the variety of guests that we've had on here. But we have kind of just stuck to either celebrities, friends of mine, that I know sort of in the industry, or people with large social media followings, or experts in the field, from psychologists to drink and drug addiction specialists, all of that types of stuff. Now, I wanted to chop it up and get what I guess would be called I consider myself one of these, like an everyday man, like just a normal Joe, someone that's not out in the public on social media, that hasn't got a big following, that hasn't been on TV. And I thought, where's the best place to find someone that could give us a bit of real life experience and talk from the heart? And I thought, well, why not have a look in my Men and Their Emotions group? I've got a group on Facebook, if you don't know about this already. Lads, this is for the lads out there. No women, because we have had women try and sneak in there and see what we're up to. All right, you know what they're like. But it's just for men. It's called Men and Their Emotions. Mates. Men and Their Emotions. See what I did there? Mates. And it's got 33,000 lads in there, and they're all in there posting stuff. And you can post anonymously, so you can write something and post it anonymously, so no one will know who you are, and you can post questions about anything, and it's quite harrowing and deep, and I have to take a little bit of a break from moderating it sometimes because it is quite a lot to deal with, but I've got a beautiful team of like 16 moderators, and it's everything from lads that are suicidal, dealing with addictions, from alcohol, gambling, porn addictions, people that are dealing with problems with their wives, or everything from premature ejaculation to fucking money problems. Do you know what I mean? And that was actually John that put the premature ejaculation one in there.
One time that happened.
One time. He went to a premature ejaculation group meeting but left early. Come on. Anyway, it's a great group. And I put a post in there and I said, what's going on, lads? Give me your stories. I want to get someone on here that the general everyday man that listens to this podcast can relate to. And I picked a load out. And one of them is this gentleman that's joining me now that's got quite a crazy story, a mad journey, and I think, as I said to him, well, I'll introduce him first, and then I'll say why I got him on here. Please welcome to the podcast, Alex Drummond.
Hello, mate. You all right?
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, nice to see you. And thanks for having me on.
That's all right, mate. I hope I didn't play you down. I'm like just a normal geezer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's nothing. I didn't mean it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm used to that.
No, I didn't mean that. But what I meant is the beautiful thing about this podcast is everyone that comes on here, they've got something to share. But people, and I consider myself, I mean, I know I'm all over social media. I'm like a bit of a social media tart, and I'm all about the views and all of that jazz. But I'm still just like a normal bloke, right? And I think someone like yourself that's been through this, we said this when we met just in the Starbucks, is that one positive thing that can come from, and we're going to get into your story, from being through it with drink, drugs, with everything that you've been through, is afterwards it gives you the tools and it gives you something that you can give back, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, we go through the worst experience.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, we get to use it to help other people. So
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense of it all for me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it's nice to be able to give back, and if it helps one person, and
That's
that's a
it.
bit of a cliche, but if it helps one person, then
Yeah.
you know, it's good.
You've been watching the podcast.
I've seen them all, yeah.
Well, you said you're a little bit nervous about coming on.
I'd be lying if I wasn't there.
It's not the normal sort of thing you've done. Have you ever done any TV, radio?
Yeah.
Oh, what have you done?
Crime Watch.
Crime Watch.
No.
Have you actually?
No,
because I've read your story. I won't put it past you.
I've been in trouble, but I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't been on the Crime Watch level.
Yeah.
But I've done. Funny enough, to do with addiction, we set up a friend of mine. We set up a magazine called Pipe Down Magazine. Actually, it was when I came out of rehab in 2016. We set a magazine up. It was a forum for people, for addicts to write stories, do artwork,
Wow.
run a Facebook page, do all of that sort of stuff, and it got a bit of traction with the media. So I did an interview for ITV, did an interview for BBC, and yeah. So I've done a little bit, but not for a long time. So that was early in recovery, a little bit like yourself.
Yeah.
It was what I needed at that time to do.
Yeah, brilliant. So let's get into your story. So, you know, as I said, I put out in the Men and Their Emotions group. It's a good group, isn't it? You're in there. Yeah, there's a lot of lads in there going through a lot. And I think the beautiful thing about that group is, you know, even if you're just watching and you're not chipping in, it makes you realise that you're not the only twat in the world. Do you know what I mean? You're not the only one going through this stuff.
Yeah, well, what I noticed when I first joined was, because I think I joined quite early on, so there wasn't that many people in there. And what I saw was thread after thread of people saying that they're struggling with addiction, they're flat out on the bag at the weekend, and then they're missing work and all that kind of stuff. And I just posted on there, look, I've got a bit of sobriety. If anybody's struggling, you want me to signpost you anywhere, let me know. Here's my drop me a message. And over the next couple of days, I had about 30 messages.
Really?
Yeah.
And boys are struggling, aren't they?
Yeah, but people don't know what's out there in terms of services.
Yeah.
They don't, and there's a big pride thing when it comes to men. It's like, I'm not going to reach out. I can't let people know.
Yeah,
I'm struggling. It's a sign of weakness, and that's...
Yeah. What? Before we get into your story, like I'm trying to get my nut around sort of, you know, because I still even do it now. Like I don't like the word addiction. I don't like the word addict, and I don't like the words. You know, they scare me, and I don't like the word like. You know, sobriety I'm all right with, because sobriety kind of makes me feel like there's a choice to it. Mm-hmm. And I don't like addict or addiction and da 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 da. But the truth of the matter is, I was an addict, right? Even though there was gaps in between my drinking and drug use. Once I started, like Pringles, in it, once you pop, I couldn't stop. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, and I think that if you look at substances like alcohol and drugs and you think I want to get as fucked up as possible, then you got a problem, right? And that was me all the time. And I think the scary thing about lads looking for help or reaching out is that when it clicks in your head and you're like, fuck me, I can't use this stuff without everything going wrong. I can't drink or use drugs with everything going wrong. It's fucking scary, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, first thing, like, I'm not going to sit here and disagree with you because it's your podcast, but I don't agree the addict thing. For me, there's power in it.
Right. Okay. No, listen, I'm open to the conversation. Yeah.
So for me, like, acknowledging and admitting I'm an addict.
Yeah.
It tells me that now I know what I need to do as part of the solution.
My point was I know I'm an addict, but I don't like the word.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
When I was early in recovery, I hated it.
Yeah.
You know, I hated it because it was like, for me, it was a dirty thing.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't really want to be tarred with that brush. Even though I got evidence to say that I'm a crackhead.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm still not an addict.
Yeah.
You know? So
that's the ego, isn't it?
yeah, that's the ego and the pride, and it's you know, in terms of like knowing now that I'm an addict, like for me, there's power in that because now I know that I'm an addict. I know what the solution is, and as long as I always have those clear lines, it means I'll always stay in the side of the solution.
Yeah.
When I think I'm not an addict, that's when I'm likely to go, maybe a nice glass of beer in the sun in a beer garden would be nice.
Oh yeah, I'm the
same.
Yeah, I'm the same, and I think I don't look at it as missing out. I always say this. I don't look at it as missing out on that beer in the beer garden. I look at it as being free from it now.
Yeah.
And that was the tough thing for me because the first time I went sober, it was still niggling in the back of my head. I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I was doing it because my missus had had enough, and it was fucking up my work. And every time I was getting on the gear, I was doing stupid shit, saying stupid things or whatever. And when I come away from it, I was being sober for them, for everyone else. And I very much think that the only reason I'm going into this is because I just wanted to relate it to the lads that are out there.
I've been there, by the way. I've been in that exact same space, not doing it for myself.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
How did it change?
I had to get to a rock bottom, and that looks different for everyone. You don't have to be homeless. You don't have to lose everything to be at that. There'll be loads of men in that group who'll be just at that rock bottom, and it's a feeling inside. Yeah,
that was my second time. So the first time, and then I thought I could go back to it, and then it accelerated at such a speed, and then I got myself to a position. Yeah. Anyway, it's not about me. Let's, I mean, it is. No, I'm joking. No, let's, I always do this and I get loads of comments saying, shut up and let them talk because and again, it's just because I'm passionate about it and I'm learning. It's so new to me as well.
Yeah, I talk about addiction all day long.
Brilliant.
You know,
okay,
so
good.
I'm happy.
So I've got here the message that you sent me and why I wanted to get you on, but I'm not going to read anything from it. I want you to start from the beginning and tell me your story.
Okay.
And I am going to interject.
Yeah. Just ask away. Basically, I was just a normal bloke who used drugs. Now, and that sounds mental, doesn't it? A normal bloke who uses drugs because it's not normal to use drugs. But like growing up as a 18, 19-year-old, it is normal. Like when you're wrapped around people that do it all the time, you go to clubs and run bars. Like I used to run nightclubs, so it was everywhere. And I would say for a 10-year period, I had it like. And I always say this when I talk to anyone about it, if I could use drugs now like it was during that 10-year period, I would still do it. And that's the truth. I loved it. I loved the way drugs made me feel. I loved the way that it took away fear, gave me courage, made me fit in, all of that kind of stuff that I used to use them for. And but then little by little, things started happening in my life. And then, you know, I'm never going to blame an individual kind of event or circumstance for the reason why I became a full-blown drug addict, but it certainly accelerated my using. So my mother passed away in 2013.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Yeah, and you know, it wasn't a nice thing. Yeah. And my dad died of cancer when I was 10. My mum died 30 years later in exactly the same way. Oh. So I bottled up my feelings since I was a 10-year-old boy. I'd learned how to deal with not feeling emotions. And then when I got older, drugs used to numb the pain and all that sort of stuff. And then when my mum died, that's what I did. I used drugs. And my weekend using with the boys, and like I was running a couple of businesses, was doing really, really well for myself. From the outside looking in, my life was amazing. Yeah, like I had nice cars. You know, I had a newborn daughter. And if you were looking into my life, you'd think he's got everything. Yeah. But I wasn't happy. Like, and I couldn't deal with life, and I couldn't deal with my emotions, and little by little, that using it the weekend and maybe once in a week just became every day. And then it was like different variations of different drugs. And then I was getting kicked out. Then I had nowhere to live. And then I was like living on cracked floors. And then if things were getting worse and worse and worse. And then one day I tried to pick up gear. I couldn't get any. And he said, I got crack. And I was like, at that point, that seemed like a good idea. But it's the devil. Like Coke is the devil for some people. That what brought me to my knees. And you know, I lost all my businesses. I got sectioned due to my mental health. The first time I got voluntarily sectioned because I was running businesses and I was living life and like everything was going good, but I could not stop taking drugs. And I was like, how can I be good in all other areas of my life? But how can like this have me completely defeated? And I just had no clue. And I was like, I remember going to the doctors and saying, look, unless you can do something to help me, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah.
And like, was it genuine at that point? Honestly, I didn't know, but I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So I got sectioned. I was in there for, I want to say 3 weeks. And I thought, 3-week head start, not taking drugs, I'll be able to come out, get my life on a level playing field. And I didn't. I came out the next day, I picked up again.
Oh, God.
And that was it. And then it got darker from there. It got like a lot darker. I was made homeless. I was living in a car.
Fuck.
And funnily enough, because you sent a message through saying about any mad stories or any crazy things that you've done, and we'll probably come on to that. But one of the what I did was I was living in my car and like I had no money, I had no way of getting funds. I'd ripped a load of people off, manipulated a load of people for money, robbed loads of people, done things I shouldn't have done and I'm not proud of. And I went and sold my car. It was a nice car, sold it to a local dealer, and then came back. And I was walking back, and at no point did I go, I've just sold my car, and that's where I'm sleeping, and that's where I'm living. I went, money, gear, score, drugs. And then next thing I know, I was living in a tent.
Fucking hell, man.
But that's the cycle. It was like, starts off, every day using, things going really, really good. And then little by little, it just encroaches in your life and start using in a week and it just accelerates. And it just took a little trauma in my life for me to go, I don't feel comfortable with this feeling. I'm going to use drugs because it's going to numb how I'm feeling. I can't deal with it. And then all of a sudden you get so used to using every day that you can't stop.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's a lot to take in. I'm going to go back and unpick some of it. I think that, first of all, thank you, man, for sharing. Thank you for sharing. And I think that one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on is there's so many aspects of your story that's not a lot of people go through all of that. Do you know what I mean? The loss of someone, being homeless, being sectioned. I'd love to be sectioned, just see what it's like in there.
It's not all that, mate, honestly. I was sectioned the second time. Well, I didn't have a choice, and it's not all that, honestly.
No, I'm joking.
The food's crap.
I'm joking, fuck. No, but Jesus Christ, my house is pretty fucking mad. But no. So what I was saying is, yeah, look, to lose, to be an addict, to lose your parent, to be sectioned, to be living in your car, to and to pull yourself out of it, losing your parents, and there's a lot here that different various people can relate to. But I want to go back. Because it's quite interesting. That you say about, basically, I can relate very much to when I lost my father, my using really increased. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing a lot of research into it and talking to a lot of people about it, and especially with men. I think that the connection here is, we associate drinking drugs with a good time, right? And, I really honestly think the reason why there's such an epidemic of alcoholism and addiction and stuff like that is because, one, it's hard for us to grow up. We're like Peter Pan, and it's hard for us to grow up. And that, once our life moves on, the party kind of stops, but we keep on using it to try and get the party, I guess. But when something crucial happens, that's why I always say to people, if you're fucking struggling with drinking drugs, or you're just using it a little bit too excessively now, like, so say for instance you're using it at the weekends still now when you've got a family and stuff, and you're using it and it's causing little bits of problem at home, and then occasionally when you go out during the week you're using it, and you're using it when you're stressed or using it when you celebrate, it takes something big that could happen in your life to send you over the edge. I mean,
the reality is like we don't know how to deal with our emotions. And anybody who, like you say, drinks too much but not an addict or an alcoholic, it's probably only one major life experience or trauma or away from being too far over the line.
Fucking, that is so true. Yeah.
That's my opinion. And it doesn't mean that everybody out there is going to become addicts.
Yeah.
But addiction manifests in lots of different ways as well. Like I've got friends who are addicted to buying trainers.
Yeah.
You know, I've got friends who are addicted to porn and sex and all sorts of stuff. They can't see it. It's not my place to tell them that they're in that place. But it's just that example of like not being able, especially with blokes, like we talked about, and that's why the Men in Their Emotions group is so good, because we don't have we can't express our feelings.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, what were your options then? I mean, like, so your father passed away when you were younger,
10,
when you're 10, and I'm very much in a mindset that, you know, when stuff happens to you when you're a kid, it's just part of life. You don't think that you're affected by it, but obviously you are.
Yeah,
You're obviously.
I definitely developed OCD after my dad died. I felt like I was really worried about my mum dying. I was really worried about my little sister, anything happening to her. So what I would do is I'd start developing little OCD tics, you know, switching lights off and saying things over and over again until I felt like they was perfect. You know?
Yeah.
And that
Trying
was
to
my way of control.
controlling,
It's all
yeah.
control thing.
Yeah.
When you talk about like OCD, ADHD and addiction, it's all obsessive. It's all compulsive.
Yeah.
It's all about control. It's all about feeling like
Like it's not all going to go wrong.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, like that was how I developed a way of dealing with control. But really, when you think about it, that obsessive compulsive behavior.
That is addiction.
It's addiction.
Yeah, yeah.
Me, these are my views.
Yeah.
You know, a doctor out there might be sat there going, actually.
Well, no,
that's
that's
bollocks, but-
yeah. But I mean, you know, I could have doctors on here all day long. That's not the shit that's connecting. That's not what's going to connect with lads out there that are part of our generation. And look, people always say to me, I get some criticism online where people say you're glorifying drug use. Yes, because it's fucking glorious.
Yeah, I
when
loved
you're
it.
doing
Like I
it.
said, I loved it.
Do you know what I mean? And I may say that in a jesting way, but the truth of the matter is, it's very difficult for men like us at our age or that are going through it to relate to someone that ain't never fucking been there. Because unless you've gone out during the week on a Wednesday night to watch the football, had a couple of beers and been like, do you know what? Fuck it. Do you want to get a packet in?
Yeah.
And then had a couple of lines and then woke up or not slept and then had that feeling the next day where you're like, why the fuck have I done it again?
Oh, yeah.
But then you can't stop doing it every week.
Yeah. And then you throw into the mix with that you can't reach out and tell anyone that you're struggling.
Yeah.
You can't say that you need help. So then you're riddled with guilt and shame because you've let your kids down. Like I used to let my daughter down every time.
Yeah, I mean,
every single time.
Yeah, I regret for me now is, I mean, my kids are 4 and 6. My wedding, my kids. I look back and it's only a small period in my life, like 4 years, where I look back and I'm like, you know, and a big motivation for me to stay clean and sober is I don't want any more regret.
Yeah. No, they're at a good age where, you know, they're only going to remember you as a sober dad if you carry on from this point, you know. And
Thank you. Yeah, that's. But I think as well, just touching on, I want to go back to your story, but just touching on what we just said about men that are going through that. Another big thing for it, and I 100% believe in this because I was there. Another big thing is lads are like, yeah, but what's the fucking problem? Or I ain't got nothing else. What if you take away that fucking one big piss up a week?
Yeah.
And if you take away the sesh
from
me, then what the fuck have I got? And I think this is a massive part of this movement that I'm kind of trying to create, or this thing that I'm trying to do is
showing people that there's a life outside of it all.
Exactly.
And it's a beautiful life as well.
Beautiful, yeah.
I mean, like, you know, the things I've done in recovery, you know, in the last 6 years, have been unreal. You know, like I've seen my daughter's first day at school. You know, like I live to do stuff with like my partner and my daughter, and it's like, but that was an inconvenience back in the day. Like when I used to have my daughter, it used to be like, how can I score around having her? Like, how can I pick up? Like, what have I got to do? What time have I got to wait for her to be asleep before I can ring a dealer and call one on? There's all this kind of madness stuff. And it's like, you know what? When you, life seems like it's going to be really boring without that stuff.
Yeah, but actually it's like you're living in black and white, and then the light comes back, the color comes back into it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of describing it, because waking up in the morning with no guilt, no shame, no remorse.
And loads of spare time.
And loads of spare time, yeah. I mean, like, you actually have time to do stuff, you know? Because, like, you're not writing the next couple of days off because your head's in the shed.
So let's go back. So, all right, so unfortunately, the the same thing did happen. That what happened to your father happened to your mum. So that sent you over the edge.
Yeah.
When my dad died, my attitude very much was fuck this shit and
Yeah, a
fuck
little bit
life.
like that,
And just like, I just need to feel better. So your drug taking increased around that time. Could your friends tell that you were in pain or struggling?
Yeah, I mean, they all, at the time, like my friends who I was really close with, people that I used to use with and stuff, they would, it's a weird one, they know, but they're not saying, they say you don't want to listen.
Yeah.
And there's a lot
Was
of
it
that.
just coke around that time?
Yeah, I was just flat out on the packet.
Yeah.
That's what it was for years and years and years. And then it was shortly after that, it kind of just took a different direction.
And when you were going through that period, how long between from losing your, if you don't mind talking about this,
No,
how long from losing your mother did things start falling apart at home with the missus? And was she just clocking onto it that it was out of control?
So I'm gonna share something very openly. We were trying for a baby, and like my daughter is an IVF miracle baby.
Wow.
Yeah. She's an absolute miracle baby, and during that process of like going through that process, like I managed to get sober for a little period, but then couldn't. And one thing, like I can tell you about my experience, is I could stop for a little period, but I couldn't stay stopped.
Right, yeah, and you were stopping to have to
stopping just to be,
clean for the
for the
IVF,
so I was healthy and all that sort of stuff, and my ex at the time had said, look, I know you're grieving about your mum, but like we got caught pregnant, so it was like 9 months time, baby's going to be here, like you need to clean your life up. And
oh
and
my god,
in my head, I was,
right then,
and in my head I was like, yeah, obviously, of course, a newborn baby is going to be enough to sort my life out. Of course, that's going to be enough for me to go, right, I'm going to clean myself up. But it wasn't.
Oh my God, when my father died...
And that's me being brutally honest.
I'm just blown away. When my father died, that week I found out my missus was pregnant. Do you feel like your mum had a hand in it?
Absolutely. And she said to me, because obviously, like, she knew that we were struggling to have a baby. She'd said on her deathbed, because she had cancer, so I don't know if you've... been around anyone who has cancer. At the very end, they go through a really weird period where they're there and then they're not there and then they're there again for a very short space of time. And in that window, she said, I'm going to make sure that you have a baby, just before she died. And then we're talking like within that same day. God. And then shortly after, within a couple of months, we got caught pregnant. And
wow.
Yeah.
What was your mother's name?
My mum's name was Elizabeth.
Wow, Liz. Thank you, Liz.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That's deep, man.
Yeah.
That's deep.
But no, I do believe she had a part in it. I'm quite spiritual like that.
Yeah, me too.
Connected like that, and yeah. But back to the question.
Yes, go on.
I couldn't maintain any period of sobriety, and once you throw a child into the mix, that level of guilt, shame, remorse, that waking up in the morning and feeling like you've failed, that takes on a different layer, because you're not just about you anymore. And, And absolutely right. My ex, she took her away from me because I wasn't I wasn't fit to be a dad. And I'm glad she did, because, that space has given me the opportunity to come back, sort myself out, and then go back and try and be a better dad.
Wow. I mean, there's fucking hell, man. I mean, first of all, I'm inspired by your honesty, man. Like to be able to say there's so many, I know for a fact from that group and just men out there, that there's so many men out there that just blame women. We'll just blame women, and we'll just say that women are out of order and that fuck my ex, not looking at the shit that they put them through, and I know this firsthand from my wife, when it's just you two in a couple and a woman has a baby, that baby, without a shadow of a doubt, no holds barred, becomes the fucking priority over
Rightly
you.
So, is
Rightly
it?
so, yeah. So her maternal instincts are heightened, and she will see the sesh, she will see the hangovers in the morning, the bad attitude, the aggression.
Yeah.
She will see all of that and be like, not on my fucking watch with this baby.
And there's a new protective layer to it all.
Yeah.
And rightly so.
So for you to be able to hold your hands up, I hope that inspires men out there that are going through it at the moment, that are maybe broken up with their partners, that are still holding the woman to blame and all of this stuff. I think that, it should be inspired. And also, by holding your hands up and saying maybe to your partner, looking back and saying, it might open more doors for you with access and stuff like that. If you can say, look, I've looked at it and
Yeah, I think like the ability to be honest, not just in relationships or with exes or with friends, and like I think like there's so much stigma still around addiction, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know, but and what you know, podcasts like this, you know, other stuff that's going around is little by little is chipping away at that stigma, which is great. But there still is stigma, and people find it difficult to be honest. And I'll be honest with you, like, I think the more open and honest and transparent you are around the people that are important to you, whether that's your employer, whether that's your partner or family, the better chance you've got of getting help, the better chance you've got of living a life where they can then support you in recovery as well.
Yeah.
You know, so I've had some great experiences around being honest with people in recovery, and it's got me jobs, and it's got me, you know, like my partner, you know, has absolutely warts and all everything that's happened in my experience. And, you know, to still have somebody that supports me with that level of support and passion.
Well, it's an attractive trait. I think you'll agree. It's an attractive trait, and it's I find comfort in it. Like, you know, when I speak to my wife's friends, that's some of them, you know, obviously when I was putting my wife through the shit, that you know what they're like with their friends, and when I you know what I mean, and I saw one of them last night. She came over to the house, and the first thing she said is, "Oh, you're looking well," because she hadn't seen me in like 4 or 5 months. I've been working out. I lost all that fucking beer fat. And the second thing, she was like, one of the kids came in, and I was like, right, come here, let me sort it out. And I was running around it, and I come back, and she was just like, you know, the old Dan just would have been like, I'm busy, I've got da-da. And she was like a little, she didn't exactly say it, but she was a little bit like, you know, it's good to see. And I thought to myself, and I said to her, yeah, man, like I was such an arsehole. And I said to her, that's the painful thing about this clarity, is realising how much of an arsehole I was. But the feeling of being proud is so fucking worth the sobriety.
Of course it is. And it's like, yeah, we fucked up.
Yeah.
You know, yes, we've hurt people, but like, you know, I'm really lucky because I'm part of a recovery organisation. You know, it's called CA, Cocaine Anonymous. You know, I regularly attend meetings, and I get to help other people that are in the situation I was now. You know? And part of that process, I get to look at, and I've seen a couple of people that you've had on this show before. They're also involved in a similar group, and you know, we get a process of looking at all our behaviour, all the people that we harmed along the way, who we need to make amends to, and going back and actually physically righting those wrongs. Now, some people are going to turn around and say to us, "Look, you caused too much harm. I don't want to speak to you." You know?
Yeah, that's the fear.
I've had some beautiful experiences where, you know, I've owed people money, and I've gone back to them and said, "Look, let me give you the opportunity to pay your money back," and they'll be like, I don't want the money. I'm just glad to know that you're all right.
See, that's
lovely, and that's powerful. You know, I spoke to a friend who I hadn't seen for, I want to say 10 years, but I'd manipulated him for a little bit of money, contacted him in recovery, paid him back, and he said, "Look, I'm glad you've spoken because my missus is struggling with crack addiction. Is there anything you can do?"
Wow.
And I was like, in that moment, due to that process of going back and making amends, I've been placed to help somebody else. And I was like...
It's like karma.
Yeah, and this, for me, this is what it's all about.
Wow. Can you give any more examples of wrongs you had to right and how they went? Because I think they're quite powerful.
Yeah. I was like a father figure to my nephew. And unfortunately, he's seen me like deep in the darkest depths of addiction, using... I just wasn't present. You know that feeling of just not being present. You know, you can be around somebody for 4 days,
but missing them,
and just not there.
Yeah,
that's what I was like. And you know, like he just turned 18 last year, so I've been in recovery for 6 years. And when I first got into recovery, he was like 12, and then 13, 14. So now I've looked.
Now he's a lad,
he's a lad, and he's like, "Uncle, I'm so proud of you." Like,
oh, I bet that's great.
So proud of you, and you haven't got to apologise for anything. And he said, like, you know, I'm the man I am today because of what you've done throughout my life, and
in a key period of his life.
Yeah, exactly. And
wow.
I mean,
I can tell that one's deep for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's deep. I mean, like, you know, I cried like a baby when he told me that.
Yeah,
because that's, you know, that's the stuff. That's the real stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing for us to sort of relay to lads out there that if you're in a dark place now. And you're fearing sobriety, like I did, very much so. I knew it was coming. The second time round, I went back to the beer, and I knew that I had to get sober. Well, I had no choice. Otherwise, you know, otherwise I wouldn't have had wouldn't have had everything that's dear to me, and you fear it. You fear the thought of you put it off. I've got to go sober. If you're in that position, just the truth that you need to hear is definitely that feeling proud is just the best fucking feeling.
Yeah, and waking up every day and just having gratitude for what you've got.
Yeah,
like.
Instead of chasing, you feel like you're chasing something.
Yeah, because I had a good chat with my missus the other day, and she said I said something which was quite profound. I mean, we hear it all the time in meeting rooms that we go to in recovery, but like the problem wasn't the drink and the drugs for me. The problem was my thinking. Like I used drink and drugs because I couldn't deal with life in normal life's terms, and then the drugs became the problem. But to give you an idea of like how the thinking is my problem, I was in rehab for 6 months. So I'd been off the drugs for 6 months. I hadn't smoked crack. I hadn't taken any gear.
You must have felt great.
Yeah, I came out and I felt like that feeling of what you're talking about now. Proud, like 100 miles an hour, on top of the world. And I had that insane thought, like I'd been trusted with my daughter again, like after nearly a year of not really seeing her. I've been trusted with her again, 6 months sober. And I had this thought, alcohol's not my problem. Foster's is really weak lager, so I'm just going to have 4 cans of Foster's. By the end of the night, I'd picked up crack. And I was gone again, and within 24 hours, I was homeless again. Now, that says to me that the drugs aren't a problem. Like, it says to me my thinking is the problem. The problem isn't the drink and the drugs. The problem is my thinking.
I can't believe that.
Because I thought next time I could do it again, and it'd be different. And all of the homelessness and the being sectioned and the being stripped away from my daughter and losing my businesses, and all
that's
that
all
stuff,
gone.
Like I hadn't even come into my mind that might happen again.
And it did.
It was just, it seems like a good idea.
Oh my God. And God, I can just feel your pain, like of you back then. I can just feel it. And do you know what? Do you know why? I know exactly. And I mean, that scares me because I'm 4.5 months and you're talking about 6 months. So like, that's still a real thing. Like it's always going to be a real thing, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I lived with that like 6 years in, I have that, like, don't get me wrong. I don't think about using very often. It comes as a flickering thought. Yeah.
It's triggers, isn't it? There's triggers.
Yeah. But the reality is I absolutely know that unless I surround myself with the right people, unless I do something in recovery every day, like to help other people or to go to meetings or whatever it is, stuff like this, unless I do something in recovery every day, there is a chance that insane thought is going to come back that actually,
you'll act on.
Glass of wine with I was going to say a steak then. I turned vegan 18 months ago, so...
Oh, get out! Yeah.
That insane thought is probably going to come back.
Yeah.
But I do enough now on a daily basis to just keep that thinking in check.
Yeah, so powerful, man. It's so powerful. Such good advice and like such a clear insight. I feel like I read a book because I don't know if for me, I didn't want to do the drugs anymore, right? Yeah. I didn't want to do the drugs anymore. I'm like, I considered myself, like you said before, I'm successful. I have a nice house. I've got a beautiful family. I've got an amazing wife. I've got 2 lovely little girls. Why the fuck do I want to be sniffing cocaine, right? But to me, it was just like, look, this is part of the culture. This is part of what we do on a Friday night. If a bag comes out, fuck it, we'll have a laugh. What harm is it? But the truth of it was getting the fallout from it and the come down and everything was getting so destructive. It was affecting my family. And I know for a fact, and this was the hard thing for me to give up, the beer, right? Because I loved having a beer. But I know for a fact that if I had one beer, then fine, 2 beers or 4 beers that night, maybe that night would be all right. And this is what slowly happened to me. At some point, that thought is going to come in my mind, like you said. And once you've had a couple of drinks, you can't fucking
control that anyway.
You can't. Once you've had a couple of drinks, who are you? You're pissed. You can't ask yourself for advice. You can't. After I've had 4 Stellas, I can't ask me if getting a fucking bag of gear in is a good idea because I'm going to say yes and a brass. No, I'm joking. No, but you know what I mean. So that's why. And this is why I'm going to come all the way back to what we said. That word addict. This is why I had to hold my hands up and go, I am an addict because I can't control that process.
Yeah, but there's power in that.
Yeah,
and that's
and-
where, you know, that's
yeah.
where you're early, and like I was in that situation. I don't mean to say that to patronise you,
yeah.
because you're how many days now?
I think it's like 135. Yeah, I know what it is.
That's amazing.
Oh, thank
That's
you,
amazing.
mate.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
You know, those first 80, 100 days, they're hard.
That's the hardest.
They're hard. Like,
Feel it.
you know,
Well, I don't
wake
know
up-
if it's the hardest because I haven't gone any longer, but
but they're hard. So like, it's a massive, massive achievement, and you should be really, really proud of yourself. And yeah, it's just it's difficult. It gets easier.
yeah, I feel like you said about doing stuff daily. For me, getting in the boxing gym in the morning, when I feel good after I've had my workout, it's like eating. Like I ain't gonna go and eat at McDonald's today because I've had a workout. Do you know what I mean? And keeping myself busy, just keeping my schedule busy, and keeping looking at the babies. But anyway, I want to go back to your mum passed away.
Yeah.
Your using increased.
Yeah.
I'd ask you about your friends, but you're sort of in the mix of it. Now tell me, so your missus had enough, and how did that go? How did that process go? Was it just one day she just said, right, that?
Yeah, she kicked me out because I was just complete nightmare.
Was there like one situation that happened that
No,
sparked
it was just a pressure cooker situation.
Yeah, and
just
she's
to build up, and rightly so. Like I put my hands up, like I said, rightly so. I got kicked out, and then I moved in with my sister, and then I burnt that bridge because she's got kids and all that sort of stuff, and then I was sleeping in my car, and that's how that progressed.
Shit. So you went in the car, then you went to the tent. Where was the tent?
Well, it was where I was sleeping in the car. So it was there's a little part in South Wales in Newport called Viewpoint, and there's like a little wooded area. And I used to reverse in there every day so that the police couldn't see the car there. And I'd have a little use up, and I'd stay awake all night, and then I'd sold the car, and then basically built a tent out of tarpaulin that I'd nicked out of a garden. And then I was there on and off for 6 months.
Fuck me, mate. So you're at rock bottom. You're in and out of. You've relapsed. You've done your 6 months. You relapsed. How did you get clean?
So we talked earlier on, didn't we, about rock bottom moments, and like I tried to take my own life, and I tried to do it twice before, where that was one of the reasons which led me to getting sectioned the second time. So I ended up taking like a load of tablets, diazepam, paracetamol, like anything I could get my hands on, and then I went to hospital, had my stomach pumped. And when I came round, if I'm honest, when I came round the second time, I woke up and I thought, I'm really glad I didn't die. I'm really glad I didn't die, because that would have been a stupid thing to do. I've got a daughter, I have got a life. But the last time, which led me to answer your question, led me to the point of getting clean. I tried to gas myself.
What?
Yeah, I tried to gas myself.
How?
And basically put my head in an oven, and it was spitting out gas, but it wasn't lighting.
How did you?
Basically, I put my head in the oven for like however long, and then I blacked out, and I was out for, I don't know, not long, but a few minutes or whatever. And when I woke up, when I came round, this was the difference. This was my rock bottom moment where I thought something has to change. And it has to change for me, not for my daughter or anything like that. Is I woke up and I came round, and the first thing I said to myself was, I wish I'd have fucking died. And it was at that moment I realised something has to change. And I had a load of gear at the time, and I remember chucking it away, and I reached out to my old business partner who had no idea about all of this stuff that had happened. And I messaged him and said, look, I'm fucked. Can you meet me? I'll be honest with you about everything that's happened. And he paid for me to go into a detox. And I detoxed for 4 weeks. And it was at that point I came out and I said, right, I'm going to have a recovery plan. I'm going to go to meetings. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to do it for myself, not for everybody else. And that was the start of my journey in recovery.
Oh, mate, you nearly lost me there for a bit about the oven bit. I can't believe how you could get to... I don't know, man. Well done.
It's a dark place, but
Yeah.
look, it's, like we said at the very, very beginning, all of this has happened, and now we're able to carry a message of hope to people that might be in the same situation, thinking about doing the same thing tonight.
So what's your what's your life now? Tell me about your life now.
It's unbelievable, mate.
See, look at your
It's
smile. You light up.
Like, I can't. I've got the most beautiful partner.
She's in here,
She's here.
She's all right, yeah.
She's all right.
Yeah, go on.
But like she supports me for everything. She knows that like warts and all everything that you know there is about my journey. Or if she doesn't, she will by the end of this podcast anyway.
Oh God. She's crying. Oh.
And she supports me and she loves me and you know like we're on the same page and she champions me within my recovery.
Yeah, I love that.
That's a real powerful thing to have somebody behind you. And I've seen like your social media stuff and your missus is becoming more like sort of supporting around you in terms of like helping you.
Yeah.
And that's a real powerful thing to happen. And I see my daughter 3 days a week.
Okay, love
Some
that.
weeks I see her 4 days a week. I've taken her on holiday.
Wow.
I have her for Christmas.
Wow.
She wakes up on Christmas morning every couple of years with me, and you know like Santa comes and all that sort of stuff.
Wow. Yeah.
And I've taken her to her first day in school. You know, I've got to say this really quickly about because we're talking about honesty. Like I did an interview for a job. And bearing in mind I used to be in sales, I had about 100 people that worked for me, proper Wolf of Wall Street kind of sales floor. Lost all of that, and I did an interview for a job because I got made redundant during COVID. And in my interview, my boss, who's my boss now, basically like he said like I've heard and I've seen some stuff online that you might have had a bit of a problem with addiction and stuff. And he said like, let's just be honest with me and tell me. And I was just completely honest with him. And he said, look, you know, I want people like you to help inspire the rest of the team and the rest of the people that we work with. And my message really with talking about that is that by being honest, like you don't have to have this big dirty secret.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, not everybody receives things as well as what he did.
Yeah.
But, you know, now I work for a great company. I've got a great job. You know, like my life today is fucking unbelievable.
I love that.
It's, you know, the freedom and the peace of mind and the serenity and the calm and the I had a washing machine head.
Yeah.
Like it was like fucking 100 miles an hour. And now I can just like sit, I can enjoy things and be present. And like, I can't really give you one thing that stands out at the moment in my life. It's just the whole thing is just unreal.
I love that, and I can relate to the things that you're proud about as well. And I done a video on my TikTok today that's saying, you know, regret is a killer. I think that a lot of men are taking their own lives and committing suicide because of regret that they haven't sorted their shit out, stuff they've lost. You know, you lost so much, you got yourself in such a position that you must, at one point, you must have been like, I can't handle the regret and I can't handle the feeling.
Yeah,
and
just you know, the it's that pride thing again, isn't it? I quite often say to people, like, it's not the drugs that kills us, it's the pride.
Yeah.
It's the inability to put your hands up and say, look, I'm fucked, I need help.
Yeah.
And that's a killer.
Yeah.
And you know, like I've had some really good experiences in recovery around being honest, and my life today is off the scale, and like, I don't have that materialistic stuff that I used to have.
Yeah.
I haven't got the 30-40 grand cars and you know, but what I have got is more important than that.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, like in your case, when you did lose everything, when you lose everything or when you almost lose everything and you have a wake-up call, it's like the fucking simple things are the most important thing. I say the simple things, but the people you love are the most important things, aren't they?
Waking up every day sober is just such a gift.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think that I'd like to finish this podcast. I mean, that was quite powerful. Well, look at John, man. That was powerful, wasn't it?
That was amazing, yeah.
Like, you should be really proud of yourself for coming on and chatting about it.
I appreciate you.
I'm glad you're quite open. I'm sure this is what you do now. Like, you talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, look. You asked me by email, or your PA asked me like what.
Don't tell him I got a PA. I'm meant to be a man of the people. No, I'm joking.
Okay, your friend. Asked me like any tips. You know, what do you do on a day-to-day basis to help with your recovery? And I alluded to it when we spoke. Is do something in recovery every day.
Yeah.
You know, I find, because again, I said before, like the problem is my thinking.
Yeah.
So what I do in the morning, I wake up and I write a gratitude list. My missus will tell you, I write it every day and I never miss it.
Yeah.
Like, I never miss it because I've got a head which wants loads of stuff that I haven't got, wants to be places I haven't been, wants this, and nothing's ever good enough. That's my head.
That's me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's addicts in general, So by writing a gratitude list, it grounds me, it lets me just review exactly what I've got in my life. And it's such a powerful tool because later on, when you fast forward, you know, when you get to those situations where actually things don't go your way and you've lost a deal or something in your life hasn't gone how you want it, you're able to take gratitude from that situation, and all of a sudden it changes your thinking. And just that little ability to be able to change the way that you think has such an impact on how you are as an addict.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I completely agree with that. By focusing on what you've got, you're not disappointed about what you don't have. You're proud of what you've got.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always someone. There's millions of people in this world that will be looking at whoever you are out there listening to this or watching this. There'll be millions of people that wish they were in your position, and you wouldn't even know that.
Yeah, and I would have been one of those people who wished I was in your situation with 90 days clean or whatever at one point, because that's fucking amazing. Yeah, you know, and it's look, it's a daily thing. I know it's the most cliche thing that you'll hear in recovery. One day at a time.
What's your advice now? What's the first thing someone can do right now if they're watching this and they're watching this because they're finding it hard getting off the drink or drugs? What's the first thing they should do?
Be honest with yourself and just connect with someone. Talk
to someone about it.
Yeah. So there's loads of helplines. So like I'm part of Cocaine Anonymous. There's a helpline. It's anonymous, you know, a little bit like the Men and Their Emotions group. Is, you know, you can post anonymously, you can speak to someone, and then the way that works is for every region they'll have responders. So I'm a responder for Wales or whatever, and I'll get people call me up and say, like, I'm fucked, I'm really struggling, and you know, what's your advice? You know, I said, go to a meeting, I'll meet you, whatever, and that's how it works, and it works like that across the world, but I'm a big believer that recovery isn't a one size fits all solution. Like that set of meetings might not work for certain people. So there's other organisations. You know, I'm involved in a rehab in South Wales. Yeah, there's lots of things out there. Just be honest, be vulnerable, and that's the key, isn't it? Yeah, vulnerability.
Yeah, I think, like, you know, just using my own experience. Once I turned around to my wife and said, you know, because we were arguing and I thought that she was being out of order, always pulling me up for just having a good time. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
But we're so happy, me and my wife now.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, we're so happy, and you know, and we weren't. We just got married. We got married this year. We got married during quite a dark time. It's quite sad to look back. I mean, it's beautiful that we got married. It was an amazing day and stuff like that. But around that, I was being a bit of an arsehole. Do you know what I mean? And our relationship has completely changed since I've gone, you know, well, since I did say, all right, you know what, I'm struggling. This ain't what I want. Yeah. I don't want to be out on the piss, and I am struggling. So I know.
How beautiful is that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you came into recovery to stop taking drugs. Yeah. And as a result, that ripple effect of your partner having a better relationship with you, your kids having a better dad, and all of that sort of stuff. It's like, in the same way we have that negative ripple effect when we're hurting people, we're having that positive ripple effect. Yeah,
and it's scary, but I guess what we'll finish on, because I feel like this is sort of the premise of this podcast, is you're going to lose more and you're going to be in more pain from not talking out about it than you are from talking out about it. You know, you're not going to, no one close to you is going to leave you for you telling them that you're struggling.
No, my lasting point would be vulnerability is courage, not a weakness.
I love that.
Men see vulnerability as a weakness. I can't show him emotion. I can't show her emotion. But it takes balls to be vulnerable. Yeah. It's like what you're doing, sitting here telling people about your darkest secrets. And it takes, but when it's a freeing experience. Once you do that, you feel liberated, and then you're able to break down the next barrier that comes along.
You can leave it behind.
Yeah. Yeah. So that would be my vulnerability is a superpower, really.
Wow, that's what we're going to call the podcast, baby. Vulnerability is a superpower.
I want a cut of
that. Alex, mate, thank you. And look, listen, people always like to reach out to my guests. Do you have Instagram or anything? Can they find you anywhere?
Yeah, so I've got a Facebook page called That Sober Man. That Sober Man, yeah. Yeah. So if anyone wants to reach out, they can reach out. But I'm on the Men and Their Emotions.
Men and Their Emotions, yeah.
You can message me.
You're not Instagram?
Yeah, I got an Instagram, but it's more of a private thing. But
cool. No, that's all right. That's fine.
I'll send you.
We'll. Can I add you?
Of course you can.
Yeah. Woo. Woo, making friends, eh? All right, okay. Thank you very much, Alex. You're an
Yeah,
absolute
look, it's been a pleasure.
legend.
Been
Thank
really-
you very
really enjoyed
much.
it.
All right, wow. See, this is what it's all about. I really feel like I don't know. That was great, man. I feel like, I didn't cry though. I almost did.
A little bit.
I was nearly there. But thank you so much, mate, for sharing. And guys, after each episode, there's some helplines that you can have a look at. Please tag someone in the comments or put someone in the comments that you think this episode particularly is a very, very powerful one. I can't wait to watch it back, and I think that it's going to connect with a lot of people. If it's connected with you, share it out there. Through you sharing it, you could really help someone. And comment. I try and reply to all the comments. Make sure you're subscribed. And yeah, what did we say? Vulnerability is a superpower.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish on that. Thank you. Hi guys, I'd like to take a second to tell you about our very first sponsor here on Menace to Sobriety. I thought long and hard about who to choose to put on this podcast and put out to you guys. And I've picked this for a very specific reason, because it's brilliant. I want to introduce you to the Morale app. This is an app where you can literally send great morale to your buddies. You can anonymously ping over messages to lift your friends' morale. It's brilliant. Ideal for this podcast and the viewers. The Morale app is an antidote to social media and an app designed to enhance human connection with your friends and combat loneliness. It's one of the biggest aids to mental fitness, and for many people in recovery is a sense of community, closeness and connection with others, and Morale is designed with the user in mind, not like other social media platforms. Download the app and add your friends to improve yours and theirs motivation every day. And if you need a code to use this one right here. This is my special code. The Morale app. Basically, ping your pal some morale. If you're going through a tough time at the moment, please don't suffer in silence. Feel free to pick up the phone and contact any of these helplines. I personally, myself, at one of my darkest points, contacted the Samaritans, and it completely changed my outlook and got me out of a really deep, dark place. A problem shared really is a problem halved. So if you don't feel confident talking to those around you, check out any of these organisations and give them a call. This is my Facebook group. Just simply search on Facebook, Men and Their Emotions. It's for men only, but once you're in there, you can talk anonymously about your problems and help others and just feel a little bit of community. So come join the conversation, Men and Their Emotions, on Facebook. Thanks for watching.
Menace to sobriety.